So, hi, Madhumita. Welcome to Slow Saturday Nights. And it's really, really good to have you. You're actually the first woman entrepreneur that I'm having a chance to record this conversation with. Slow Saturday Nights is about hitting the pause button. I think the entrepreneurship journey is something that kind of defines you and changes you. One of the things that I find really interesting, and this is true in your case as well, is that this is your second startup. You're a serial entrepreneur, and I think that is somewhere that I'd like to start exploring this journey of yours with. Right?
Thank you, Pavitra, for this opportunity. I think this is great, and I'm the first one, so I'm a bit nervous now.
No, there's nothing to
Yeah,
be nervous. It's just a conversation between friends, and it's been such a pleasure getting to know you over the past couple of calls and exchanges. I'm really looking forward to this because I think some of the things that you shared are kind of a unique perspective in terms of how you came into this entire journey of entrepreneurship when you started on this journey. I think yours was an unique story. So can we start there? Tell
yeah,
us, a little bit about your education, your background, and how you ventured, and what brought you to Open.
yeah. So, yes, I think how definitely it started when from a middle class family, when you start, it's always two options you have for career, that's engineering, or you go for, medical. That's the best thing that you can do when we started.
Right.
So that's how it started. So I opted for engineering, and then post my engineering, I was always like, when I joined, I was having in my mind that, okay, I'll go for, the best you can do is become a researcher, or, become a scientist, or kind of get into research. That's something best for girls, and then get into academics. That was something I started with. Then eventually I explored that no, there are many other stuff which I'm good at. I think that is something I should tap in. Management, yes, definitely. The next comes is call is management, but somehow things took a different kind of a turn for me. That is, I came across. I read a lot about the patent attorneys in, US. Those who are like the most important guys in all these big MNCs. So that is something excited me, and luckily something that happened that. IIT Kharagpur had this course for uh, only engineers who can do law degree, and specialize in intellectual property, which needs engineering background or a technical background. So that was exciting. That okay, I don't have to leave my technical side, and also I'm part of something which gets into the patent attorney kind of a thing, which so that time was quite exciting for me,
Exciting.
that okay, this is a great career. So that's how I started. I went to the IIT Kharagpur Law School after my engineering, and then explored their different subjects, where I kind of got exposed to a lot of things. And then during my internships, I kind of saw that in India, um, what has a strength that came was that having a engineering background, being an IP lawyer, is something which is very, very unique, and it is a strength in it to be IP lawyer, and having a specialization, So that's how I identified that okay, this is something I can create a niche for myself. And doing the internships, or I would say I was for 6 months doing an internship in one small firm. There I kind of discovered a lot of thing about myself, that yes, these are different areas where I have a lot of more potential, where I need little freedom. So the reason for just going out, no, I want to do my own, was that freedom I needed, which in a
Right.
job I couldn't.
Right. And you
And
explored that a little.
yes, 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 that's how I actually started. I always somewhere I felt that, I don't have that freedom in this job, and you are asked to do certain things, but there is a lot of more stuffs you can do. And if you do, also was not valued. So there were a lot of, going, making this decision. I had a lot of triggers there that, okay, then I kind of took that, you know, that was a big, I would say, courageous thing. Even I come from a service class family. My parents, all are doing jobs and all. Now they are retired. But yes, there was a kind of little fear was there. But yes, definitely I took that call that, okay, let me just enjoy this freedom.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you have kind of chosen the path less traveled, both with your first startup and the way that you approached it. IP law plus engineering, not a very popular choice, not the mainstream choice, right?
Yeah.
And you made a go of it. You kind of had a startup that you kind of built up to a level of maturity where it's now self-sustaining before you said, okay, here's time for me to kind of start thinking and using my energy again to build something new. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that part of the journey. When did you know that, hey, my baby's grown up now and I can think about a
Yeah.
second new venture to kind of fill the gap?
Yeah. Definitely, when I started my first venture, IPXL, that time I never thought that I'll have multiple companies or that. Definitely, I start with a thought that I have to make this big, big enough. I don't want to be that kind of a company, a small boutique company, in growing in very steady manner. The first thing was that we want to grow it big. That
Right.
is what I started with. And eventually when we had certain very aggressive plan from day one, like, I would say every year 200% we were putting the target, we have to meet that. And except last year, definitely it was 100%, but yes, the we couldn't meet that. So this target, somehow as we started achieving, there I started thinking, why not something bigger, bigger than this, because this is a conventional business what I'm doing, where it's service oriented. And I wanted to do, then it started shaping up, yes, why not a product, I get into a product, I build a product company. So that is where I kind of, as I started achieving those milestone, okay, this is what is next, okay, now I have to grow the team, okay, now I have to enter international market, yes. And then when it became a kind of automated, that yes, now different business units are there and they're functioning fine. And last year actually this happened when everything we restructured, made it, every unit was independent business units. And that's where I said, okay, this is what next big thing I'll get into.
Right, right. And I think one of the interesting aspects of your journey, both with IPXL and now with OpenIPV, is like you have decided to go the bootstrap route, taking customer validation as the route to growth. Um, and that's worked really well for you with
Yeah.
IPXL. And how, so tell us a little bit about why you took those decisions. That's kind of a less risky way to grow because you don't really have 20 people to answer to, multiple stakeholders to manage, all of that. Was that a decision that you actually thought through, or did it just begin to happen and then you recognize that this is probably the right way for us?
Yeah. Definitely, as I said, it's a conventional business. But yes, now, for every business, you can raise funds. So for us, when we started, we started with the plan that we'll grow it, we'll bootstrap it, till the time comes when we have to take external funds. So that was something, would be a last resort kind of a thing where we are not able to, or we would really want to expand rapidly, or kind of. So when that plan, the first plan, like, we'll grow, bootstrapping it, and self-funding it, or initially it was self-funding, then it became customer backed. As I mentioned, we were not VC backed, we were customer backed. So that kind of build up the all of the confidence that we don't need external funds for the first venture, definitely. And also that gave us a lot of experience in managing funds. When it is
Right.
like you are not having external funds, you know how to kind of really manage and optimize a lot of resources. A lot of learning happened, and which actually, I would say, has really helped us in bootstrapping right now current product, EV startup that we have. Because in this space, in electric vehicles, we see a lot of startups, even at idea stage, they have not built up the prototype, they've gone ahead and raised a lot of fund, and then they are new how to manage. So for us, that became like, okay, we definitely want to bootstrap at till certain level, and definitely after that we would kind of, when you do that, you really think through how to take the business model rather than having a lot of fun. I feel every startup should bootstrap for certain time, and kind of um, optimization of resources, or I would say the best utilization of the existing resources. And this makes you a more creative person. So for us, what worked out, we started thinking creatively that, okay, this is the limited fund. What, how do we manage? But we have to achieve what, goal we have. So that is something, I think this process made us, I would say, both the founders very, very, creative, that how to, think over and optimize things.
Right. Right.
So
Uh,
that's how it.
yeah, and I think your uh, partner being your co-founder, I think that's a different dynamic from many
Yeah,
startups,
yeah,
and that has its own pros and cons. Tell
yeah.
us a little bit about that, and what has the market reception been to you as a startup founder in India, as a woman startup founder in India? Because while you're bootstrapping and growing, and now you're on your second venture, um, you know, while the earlier venture was more of a conventional kind of a model, this has higher perceived risk and is in a space that's not the most common place to find a woman founder. What has the reception been, and how have you handled it?
Yeah, I think the first part, as you mentioned, that yes, definitely my co-founder is also my, husband. So definitely, I would say there are pros and cons. In our case, what happened, it was more of a pros, I would say, in the sense we both were complementing each other. So we had complementing skill sets. So it worked out, touchwood, very well for us in the first case, and definitely now we've started the second journey as well. So that is something was falling in place, that okay, we both have complementing skill set. The con is you're always talking work. So that is the case. That's the biggest problem. That whenever you are at dinner, you are at home, it's always we're wearing the same shoes, right? So we are like always talking work and all. So we have to say, hey, we have to stop, and we have to have some other discussion. So
Right.
that is the only, I would say, con, that when you are a partner at home, and life and also business.
Right.
And in case of women, yes, definitely, I would say, one is when you are running a conventional business, whether you're women or men, you're not perceived that well. Though you are making profits, you have all of the equity, you are stable. There is no, if next time no funds come, then you have to shut down. Those things are not there. But still, one was, I would be little, I would say, bold to tell. This was something I faced a lot. That you're not perceived the way the funded startups are perceived. They are not making money, they are burning cash, they are just raising funds, but they are perceived like, oh wow, kind of a thing. So that was always a, I used to think why it is so. Like, I don't, still I don't have the answer. But yes, why a company who's making money, has 100% equity, employed so many people, doing pretty well, customer backed, but why? So this was something, not women or men, this is something a conventional business faces.
Right.
Second is, as a woman, yes, I think everyone faces that. When you are in technology, it is, one is, okay, you are a woman in tech, so you have more efforts to be put to convince the customer or stakeholders, because you're a woman. So there is no, argument to it. So fine, I just, pull up my socks and I say, oh hey, I am here for serious business. Then you, when you start making sense, then everything is fine. But the first perception is definitely, okay, you know mm, uh,
Question mark.
they don't take you seriously. Yeah, yeah. So that has been certain experience, but yes, then you, I think every woman deal with that, and then we have to be there, to kind of make it clear that we are here for business. Yeah.
Right, right. And I think you had a little bit about how you decided on electrical vehicles as the space that you wanted to be in, how that kind of grew and evolved out of, conversations that you were having as part of your business, as part of your, uh, day-to-day transactions. So you identified the space. Talk a little bit about that part of the journey when you said, okay, here's something that we could possibly do. And when did you know that this is probably the right time for us to do it? And you've kind of started bang in the midst of COVID, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
you were talking to me about pretty aggressive targets and deadlines that you're driving through this
Yeah.
entire period.
Actually, this journey, I would say somewhere it started 4 years back. What do I mean by that is, when we were working, like in IPXL, we were consulting with a lot of EV tech guys or EV companies in different component level or design, vehicle, and all. That is where the foundation started of understanding the tech landscape, what's happening, what problems are around, EV, and how people are addressing and all. So, and there were different technology areas also which we were working on. And somehow it happened as EV started evolving in India, somehow, and India, and we had a lot of customers working in US as well. So it kind of started forming a shape that this is the area. First of all, this is a huge opportunity, and the next tech what is going to stay is electric vehicles, or that's what the government push and everything is coming. And we also understand that space. Somewhere we are kind of getting into that unknowingly, or I would say, that was destiny or something. Somehow it happened that way, that 4 years aggressive work on EV tech consulting, understanding that space, doing a lot of tech landscapes, and tech consulting and all. So that is somewhere, I would say, destiny, what happened, that we went kind of in that way. And last year it was, when during this COVID, we kind of did a lot of restructuring because we were uncertain about things. We kind of did different business units, focusing on different customer segment and geography wise and all that. When we started doing this, and then it gave us a clear picture that we are kind of automated. And now we move on to what is our next thing. And when we kind of looked at a different kind of areas, what we understood well, and EV was one space which gave us more confidence that, okay, this is a space what we understand well. I remember the balcony and lockdown time, and afternoon we were just having, I think 4 o'clock we are sipping coffee, both of us, me and Dinkar, and we were like, okay, these are certain areas we should look at, and that should be something next what we enter. And this is how actually we started the conversation. Then I would say April, yeah, I think this month only, April, we started doing research, a lot of research, because understanding the market also, what are the opportunities there and where is the gap, or who are the players, what's happening, why EV adoption is not happening. There are certain players, what is the issues and all. So we started digging more, you know. Then finally we identified a kind of a space where we want to enter and why we want to enter, all those logical reasoning, research, backups and all that. It was huge aggressive thing what we put a target that we'll take a call, and by August we have to decide that what we want to do. I don't know why we put that. We said just out of that if we don't give a target, it's not going to happen, we'll keep thinking.
Right.
So we did a, I think August was, we decided, okay, this is the area where we want to go. We formed the company and then we just started putting aggressive targets and all.
Right. Right. And tell us about one lesson that you've learned along the way, in building now your second startup, that you believe you would have benefited from when you started out.
I think the first point would be sometimes what we have taking ownership of things, being a leader, being a manager, or maybe at home also. You know, that is something what we generally be in an assumption that it will happen. I've said the person or said my colleague that he this is has to done, or subordinate I've said, or my employee I've said. When we assume that it will happen, but to make it happen, there is a lot of there is a process to make it happen. So that is something I personally learned, that when you take ownership, you make it happen. You can't just say, okay, this is how you just give direction or something, but you ensure that that happens. So taking ownership means you make it happen rather than you just say, okay, I'm a leader, I'm a boss, or okay, I've given directions, fine, people will do it. No, that doesn't happen, and that's the case everywhere. That was has been my one biggest lesson: no assumption, you make it happen. And that's what is taking ownership is. So that was something I thought that if I knew that before, a lot of things, maybe a better, kind of targets I must have achieved.
Right.
And, that's something I felt. And so
Right.
now that's something I'm really practicing, that yes, you have to make it happen, ownership of things.
Right. Um, I think another part that I really enjoyed listening to you talk about was how you've kind of become part of this larger community where there is both give and take. You are today a mentor that people can, on a normal day would reach out to seek advice, guidance, a whole bunch of things. So talk about your own experience. I thought you put it really beautifully when we spoke about it last. So talk about finding mentors, mentorship, and how do you engage as a mentor and as a mentee?
Actually, as I mentioned that time, that when I started, I didn't had a corporate, experience, like, coming from corporate, looking up to your manager or maybe colleague also. So that never happened in my case. I just 6 months I worked in one place and kind of just started my own venture. Uh, that is something I had to start somewhere, like, even the network connections, having a what do you say, professional circle. It was, for me, it was like zero. I started with zero. I had a couple of friends, those are not in the city also. So that is where you also look up to, when you that uh, to take some advice, take some guidance, or even tell you that whether I'm going in the right direction or not. in my case, what happened, it was, as I said, my co-founder is my business partner and we are complementing each other. So it was more like a mutual learning. I would say first it started with that, a mutual learning. Whatever my skill set was, that's something he picked up, learning that. And whatever his skill set. So might start from, I would say, the not exactly mentorship, but the learning process, and kind of started with at home, I would say, and at my own firm.
Right.
Then the other set started was from the alumni network, all the my Kharagpur seniors and other IIT seniors who you interact with them, you get into, you look for those, kind of situations like where you have meetups and all, build up a relation. So that is where you kind of spend a lot of candid discussions where you learn from real experiences, that okay, how to build up like all the entrepreneurs around. So that has been a kind of a quite I would say learning experience. And same, if someone reaches out to me, any of the young girls, those who are starting their career, want to start up something, when they kind of reach out, or some of the, my Kharagpur, very, very juniors, they'll just fresh from college, they reach out. Yes, the first part, what I tell them, that you have to value each other's time. Definitely, I'm talking to you because we are from same college, but you have to value that. The second thing is you build up that. You can't say that, I just pinged you today on WhatsApp and you start connecting me to 10 people. First, you have to build up that. That is something I practiced, you know
Right.
and that's how, two very important thing is, one is you have to value each other's time. I can't just go and knock at my seniors and kind of be don't value their time. And the other is building a credibility, or a building a rapport with them first, than expecting a lot. So that
Right.
was a thing which helped me, and that's what I keep advising, the startups, that you have to meet n number of people. You have to build up. You every meeting, every meeting has some learning. You will
Right.
learn something or the other.
Right.
So that's something is my advice to
Yeah.
whoever is starting.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that can be overwhelming, right? I mean, when you're
Yes.
setting out
Yes.
to build those relationships, it's
Yeah.
the same kind of investment as in building out any other network, your supplier network, your vendor network,
Correct.
your
Correct.
mentor network. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And I think the insights that you shared there were really, really useful. The memories that you shared about not having weekends, not really taking time off for
Yeah.
anything, right? You were completely invested in reaching out,
Yeah.
bridging gaps, building connects, and exchanging, establishing those exchanges of value, right? Um, Tell me about one of the most fun memories that you have of your career so far, Madhumita.
Right now, I would say, during this, my all Kharagpur friends, if you say, most of my friends, so-called, whom I can just pick up, the call and talk to them and just talk something, are all above uh, 55 plus or 60. I would say above 60. So this is was something like, in a party when we had a picture and I said these are my buddies. That was a that post, or I would say that kind of picture was really, my friend said, oh my god, you have all friends, those are just 60 above. That was something I remember. I could relate to that because we were just talking, right, building up the network, building
Right.
friends, so I just remembered that that was a really a very fun kind of a thing where, in the entire picture, I said, these are my buddies in my birthday party, and they were all like, 60 above with a lot of experience. And full of life. The best part was they were full of life. So
Right.
that gives me a lot of positive energy, like,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So I think that is what. And fun, I would say we have been always believing that, work hard and party harder, So it's like work smart, party harder. That has been IPXL's tagline kind of a thing. So we have a very, a culture kind of in the company that ha- like doing parties. So even people call us party animal. So even 10 o'clock will right now, though it's not possible, but 10 o'clock shutting office, we are all out partying at home. Like always, I keep hosting party at home. So there's a lot of fun happening there. So
Sure.
I think
Sure.
that has been really great,
Yeah,
that
I think
journey.
COVID has kind of cramped everyone's style, and I'm hoping
Yeah, yeah.
post COVID, I would love to have you and your team over and do another
Yes,
recording for
yes.
Slow Saturday Night. That would be really interesting. This time in person, right? um, so I think I think you've touched on your views about funding and the way that you've kind of taken a very measured approach to it. What do you think actually led you to take that approach? Because that's not the norm, right? And especially in the space that you're entering now, it's a highly it's an emerging sector, but it's a funded sector. It's a highly funded sector, and it's a highly watched
Yeah.
sector as well. Like there's huge amount of interest in it. So how are you approaching that? And it's developing a product is high risk and high investment, right? You've got to kind of put a lot of it up front and then take it to market for validation. How are you kind of rallying for that new approach, and how are you aligning your thinking, because IPXL was completely on a different path and this
Yeah.
is showing a different trajectory.
Correct.
How are you thinking about these things?
Uh, yeah, I think initially why we decided to also bootstrap for certain stage, like right now in March we completed our prototype and working prototype, and in April this month end our pre-production model will come out. When we say pre-production model of the scooter, is which you can drive and experience, and then next year we plan to launch the vehicle. So, first of all, definitely every entrepreneur, the first attitude is or thought process is they are risk takers. So, when you initially put your own money and de risk the business, it gives you also, as an entrepreneur, a lot of confidence. Uh, Taking money from outside is the easy way out. When you put your own money and build it up, and to certain level where you also build your own confidence. The second is definitely there is when you have de-risked your business, then there is a more belief from outside, also from outside investors, stakeholders, and all. So, as investor, or I mean, as entrepreneur, definitely that's a big, risk we took. That okay, we want to put our own money, build the product, and put things correctly. That was somewhere we were building our own confidence as well. Having a confidence and making a base out of it is what we had a thought process that yes, but one is we wanted to de-risk the business for the third party and also for ourselves, that yes, when you put your own skin in the game is totally different. So that's something we learned it from our previous venture, and that was a very strong reason that we want to do it ourselves. And when we need funds, we'll go, but at certain stage where we can say, hey, look, this is what we have built. It's not just an idea. So
Right.
that is somewhere we had it in mind that yes, we should be able to show that this is our, we have, you just ride, you ride and experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. um, how has it been? So, a lot of people in the production sector were affected by COVID largely because of the connects to Taiwan or China and the restrictions and the, you know, COVID really impacted people.
Yeah.
How have you dealt with it? That's, really interesting that you're still driving these super aggressive timelines.
So, in our case, actually, see, for in electric vehicle, battery is something, or cells, I would say. Cells is something you cannot get away with without being dependent on, Korea or China. So that is something we know that, okay, that's some dependency will be there. But rest is something what we are building up in-house. So the dependency itself we are reducing. Knowing the situation, there could be geopolitical issues that still, with China, things are the way things are going. And also the COVID, uh, the present pandemic thing, restricting the travel, restricting the export, import, all of it, impacting, I would say, all around. So that's where we took a call that yes, first we have to get a right kind of a team who can build in house. We cannot have first timers. We cannot have those area or room for those errors. So that is how we first put a very strong experienced team, those who have built vehicle on ground, electric vehicle previous to this. So that was the first thing what we put right. Second was how do we make it made in India, all in house? How we build it up here? There are certain things what you have to get it from outside, as I said, cells. And also the Indian market, I would say automotive market is quite matured. It's not a recent nascent market. EV is evolving, that's true, but yes. So you have to get the best use of that matured market. There are a lot of things which you can have off the shelf, right?
Right.
And rest you have certain core things you have to develop in house. So to develop that in house, you have to have the core competency. So this is how we actually plan that we don't get impacted by, impact will be there right now. Everyone is getting impacted, but how do you kind of, quickly take those calls and ensure you de-risk all this by taking those steps. So that was the first thing, was we put together a team. Those are not first timers, so that timelines can be met. Second was what are the things what we can build in house, and and what are the things we can take off the shelf. And there are certain things you have to depend on China, so you can't do anything about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And what has the reception been? When you're going out to employ people, the automotive sector itself, especially in India, is not used to the woman boss, right? So how have you dealt with that? I'm pretty certain you have some interesting anecdotes that you could tell us about, things that have happened, whether it's on the hiring side or in engaging with teams on the ground, on the production side, that entire chain of activity. Give us some anecdotal information about that.
Hmm, for us, yeah. First, I'll start with hiring because that's the first interaction, right? You don't market yourself that time when you are no one, right? Or no one, I would say you're just two founders. So, in hiring, definitely when that has been our pattern, actually, I would say, or trend, what we look into and what is that we look for in a candidate, and that is the matchmaking when happens. Uh, One is definitely the vision. When you give your vision and you are candid about it, and you really talk about that this is what we want this company to be, and also understand the other party, that what the candidate is looking for. There are different kind of candidates. One, there is a candidate who will be like, he is the real startup guy, startup working in a startup culture, that I want to take up every challenge, I want to solve problem, I want to be, the next guy. There would be a candidate who is like 9 to 5, I want to do whatever you ask me, I will do it. Okay, so that's how we do the filtering. Okay, then the first level of guy, those who say, hey, I'm there with the vision. So with those guys who connect that kind of vision, the first is you show them, this is what my vision is, this is what my background is, and this is what the logical reasoning that we will be able to do it. Giving a vision is very easy, okay, I'm going to sell 1 lakh vehicles, units, or I'm going to, but how will you do it? you know when that is very much logical and it makes sense that, oh, this is possible, very much possible, and then every day you build on that, every day you are de-risking your business model, that the employees or your colleagues, they understand, they start relating to it. And that is how I'm building on it. Now there's a long way, but I'm currently building on it, because these are all automotive engineers, mechanical guys. They're like all on the ground folks. So you have to really build that by everything falling in place. You have a vision, you have a plan, the plan is going accordingly, you're making sure that it goes accordingly. Then you start building that relation. Day one, definitely they also join. Okay, they have a background, they have run a business, this is an exciting space, they are paying me well, fine, let me get on board, and this looks a big game. They'll get on board, but they will stick with you only when. So that
They buy
has been
into
my
it.
play. Yeah,
Yeah,
you have to build that. So my play has been that.
right,
So let's see, now we have just started, it's like 8 months.
right, right.
Yeah.
And so, as a woman at work, right? And we're talking years here, we're talking decades. Um, there have been trade offs. There have been things that you've had to juggle at certain points in time, you know,
Yeah.
and that's a very integral part that sometimes people kind of just brush aside. Talk to me about that. Talk to me about some of those challenges, some of the big wins there, where you thought you had a trade off coming up, but you managed to swing it, your
Yeah.
superwoman
Yeah.
moments. Tell us a little bit about those.
Yeah, I think this is something, every day you are doing that trade-off. Yes, there are many, many trade-offs. It's been now 7 years of journey, this entrepreneurial journey now. Um, because what I would say, being a woman, what happens, there are too many things on our plate, and which I don't complain about it. I feel that if I don't do that, I don't think anyone else can do it better. If the kid is, for example, just, the kid is wanting me, he's wanting the mother. He doesn't need the father, right? He's sick or he just wants the mother. So there is no alternative to it. So what for me worked out was, how do I plan it? When you say planning, the planning has to be very detailed, very meticulous. So there are many trade-offs. Many times it is like my son will call me up and I'll say, okay, I'm coming, but I'm not able to come. So that happens. But that is something, once we accept it, that it is, we embrace that okay, this is part of it, and I'm good at that's why I'm needed. I'm the most important person. So then you start kind of planning it well. Then you start taking, okay, this is in my schedule, I have to look at what's happening in the kitchen, I have to see what's the maid is doing, what the help is doing, even what my husband needs. That is part of it. So the point here is, for me, what helped was I started embracing it that I'm the most important person, everyone wants me. So that's how I started kind of giving myself a kind of a boost up, that hey, I am the most important person in the house. So let me plan things, let me make meticulous planning, I would say. That's how I'm going to put systems in place and all. And when you say trade-offs, I think every day you have, because that dream you have of reaching somewhere, achieving somewhere. For me, IPXL was like, we want to grow it really big. For us, that was, as I said, conventional business. It was like 10, 20 years people take, where having 100 employees and all. So that's something we made it possible in, I would say, 5 years. That's how. So that is what I want, right? If I really want it, I will plan my things. I will work around things. So that's for everyone. That if you want that X thing, you will trade off that Y thing. So you have to be ready with it. And if you plan things, I think it works out. So you have to just, I tell all the women, you just say you're the most important person. The mother-in-law needs you, your mother needs you, your, kid also needs you. You're the most important person. So enjoy that.
Right.
So that's
Right.
how kind of you take
Right.
it up.
Tell me about any other memory along the journey that you've had that you feel is fitting advice for somebody who's actually just starting up today.
Starting your business, definitely, it's a very exciting thing. Because right now I feel like I'm kind of getting addicted to it, like, doing something new, having that excitement. Not that monotonous kind of a thing. Oh, you're just, it is exciting. And if it excites you, then you take it up. That's first thing. Second, it's not a cakewalk. So don't assume that, being a boss is like, it's just that you're bossing around and things just happen, as I said. It's much more than that. And when you kind of start your business, or maybe a small boutique or anything, because everything takes a lot of your energy, time, and whether it's a small business, it's a big business, everything. First thing, you need to kind of really identify and understand that space. You just can't jump in and then
Right.
figure out. There has to be a little bit of research or homework to be done. So do that homework very well. That kind of helps you in kind of also identifying certain mentors and all that. That is also very important. But yes, everything doesn't fall in, if it falls in place, then entrepreneurs have a very easy drive. But the initial research or initial homework is something is very, very important than registering a company and just moving ahead. I would say the startups, don't register your company till you really do that homework right, because these are some very minute, things which really makes us, very fascinating. I've registered a company. Now I am writing CEO in my, visiting card. No, I think that is something doesn't make much sense unless until you have that initial homework really done. So I would suggest that please do your homework. And you really need that time thinking that which market you are entering, how will you do it, doing a lot of little research on the existing players, or if you really have identified a gap. So that homework is very, very important. So I would suggest that please do your homework before registering a company, because
Right.
it's very exciting, registering and having a visiting card. So that is something I would advise.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Okay.
such a pleasure, and look forward to
Thank
having
you.
you
Thank
here
you so
again.
much, Pavitra.
I
Thank
hope.
you. Great knowing you. Yeah.
Pleasure. Pleasure. Bye bye.
Bye.